I ironed the blouse the night before. The pale yellow one with the small buttons at the collar. The one my son always said made me look like springtime. I don't know why I remember that detail so clearly. Maybe because it was the last thing I did that felt certain. My name is not important. What happened to me is, I turned 68 in March, and by April I had already bought the bus ticket. Not a plane. I don't like flying, never have, not since my husband Harold passed, and there was no one to hold my hand during turbulence. The bus from Knoxville to Charlotte takes about 4 hours, depending on stops. 4 hours is manageable. 4 hours, I can sit with a book and a thermos of coffee, and I can arrive feeling like myself. My son had called me on a Tuesday evening. I was in the middle of folding laundry when the phone rang, and I almost didn't answer because my back had been bothering me and I just wanted to finish and sit down. But I saw his name on the screen, and I always answer when I see his name. "Mom," he said. And his voice was warm in that way it gets when he's about to say something he thinks will make me happy. "We want you to come down for Easter. Really be here. Spend the whole week. Nadia's been asking about you." Nadia's granddaughter. She turned 4 in February, and the last time I saw her in person she had just learned to say my name properly. Before that she called me Mama Boo because she couldn't get her mouth around my real name. I had framed a little drawing she made me. A purple circle she said was my face, and it's on my refrigerator still, held up with a magnet from a hotel in Gatlinburg. "The whole week," I said. "The whole week," he said. "Come Sunday. Stay through Saturday. We'll do Easter dinner. We'll color eggs with Nadia. We'll just be together, Mom. It's been too long." It had been 11 months. I knew because I had counted. I said yes before he even finished the sentence. I packed carefully. I always pack carefully. It's something my mother taught me, that how you pack tells you something about how seriously you take the occasion. I brought the yellow blouse, a cardigan in navy, 2 pairs of slacks, my good walking shoes. I brought the small wooden rabbit I'd found at a craft fair in October, painted white with tiny pink ears, because I'd thought of Nadia the moment I saw it, and I'd been saving it for the right time. I wrapped it in a dish towel and tucked it between my sweaters. The bus left at 7:15 on Sunday morning. I was at the station by 6:30. I sat in the plastic chair nearest the window and drank from my thermos and watched the sky go from gray to lavender to a thin, watery gold. There were maybe a dozen other people in the station. A young man sleeping across 2 chairs with a backpack under his head. A woman with 3 children who kept escaping in different directions. An older gentleman in a veteran's cap reading a newspaper, the real paper kind, folded in quarters. I thought, this is a good day. This is going to be a good week. I thought about Nadia's face when she would see me walk through the door. About Easter dinner. About whatever my son would cook. He had started cooking more seriously in recent years, watching videos online and calling me sometimes to ask how long to roast something. I had started writing down my recipes properly, the ones that had only ever lived in my head, because I wanted to leave them something. Something real and useful. Not just costume jewelry and old furniture. The bus ride was fine. I read my book, finished the coffee, watched the Tennessee hills flatten as we crossed into North Carolina. I have always loved that stretch of highway in spring. The dogwoods come out along the ridgeline, white and pink. And for about 20 minutes, the world looks like a watercolor painting. I texted my son when we were an hour out. "On time, see you soon. Can't wait to hug that little girl." He didn't respond right away. I didn't think anything of it. He works in IT and sometimes gets pulled into things, even on Sundays. We pulled into the Charlotte station at 11:40. I gathered my bag, my purse, my book, my thermos. I thanked the bus driver because my mother also taught me that. I walked into the station and stood near the main entrance where we had agreed to meet, and I looked around. The station was busy for a Sunday. Families moving in clusters, a couple arguing quietly near the lockers, a teenage girl crying into her phone. I found a bench with a clear view of the entrance, and I sat down, and I waited. Noon came. My son still hadn't responded to my text. I called him. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. I told myself, he's parking. The parking at that station is a nightmare. I knew that from last time. He's circling. He'll be here any minute. He probably has Nadia in the car seat and can't look at his phone. I waited another 15 minutes. I called again. Voicemail. I texted, I'm inside near the main entrance. Take your time. I watched the doors. Every time they opened, I looked up. A man in a Hornets jersey, a grandmother with a rolling suitcase, 2 college-age boys with guitar cases, a woman in scrubs who walked straight past me without looking up. Not my son. At 12:40, I called my daughter-in-law. She answered on the second ring, and I knew something was wrong immediately. Not from what she said, "Oh, hi," but from the sound behind her. Music. Voices. The particular echo of a large indoor space. "Where are you?" I said, and I tried to keep my voice even. She paused. A pause too long to be innocent. "We're at the riverside," she said. "It's my sister's thing. A bridal shower thing. For her friend. It's been planned for months." I sat with that for a moment. "My son," I said, "is he with you?" Yes, he's here. He thought I was going to get you. I thought he was going to get you. I think there was a miscommunication. I have replayed that word many times since. Miscommunication. I have held it up to the light from different angles, tried to see it charitably, tried to find the shape of an honest mistake inside it. And maybe it was, in part. Maybe one of them really did believe the other had it handled. But here is what I know. I told my son the bus time 3 weeks before. I confirmed it the Thursday before. I texted him the morning I left. And not once did he say, "Mom, wait, there's a scheduling conflict. We need to figure this out." Not once did he say, "Can you take a cab? I'll pay you back." Not once did he say anything except, "See you Sunday." "I'm at the station," I said. "I've been here for an hour." Another pause. "Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. There are cabs, right? Or Uber?" "If you download the app, I know what Uber is," I said. I don't know why I said it like that. Or maybe I do. I hung up. I sat on that bench for another few minutes. I wasn't crying. I wasn't angry yet. Not the hot kind of angry that makes you say things. I was just still. The way you get still when something happens that you'll need a long time to process, and your body knows it before your mind does. The veteran's cap gentleman had moved to a bench nearby. He glanced over at me once, the way older people do when they notice someone sitting alone who probably shouldn't be. "You all right?" he said. "I'm deciding," I told him. He nodded, like that was a perfectly reasonable answer. I thought about calling my son back. I thought about texting my daughter-in-law and saying I'd figure it out. I'd take a cab. I'd give them the benefit of the doubt and be gracious about it and not make anyone feel bad. I have spent a very long time not making anyone feel bad. It is an exhausting way to live. Then I thought about the yellow blouse, about how I had ironed it the night before because I wanted to look nice, about the wooden rabbit wrapped in a dish towel between my sweaters, about 11 months. I picked up my bag. I booked a room at a Holiday Inn 8 blocks away, not because it was the nicest option, but because it had availability and I didn't want to make more than one decision at a time. I took a cab. The driver was a young man, maybe 25, with a sticker of the state of North Carolina on his dashboard, and a small photo tucked into the visor. His mother, I thought, or someone he loved. He didn't talk much, which I was grateful for. He did ask when we pulled up if I needed help with my bag. "I've got it," I said, "but thank you." "Yes, ma'am," he said, and he meant it kindly. The room was what Holiday Inn rooms always are: neutral carpet, white bedding, a painting of something coastal above the headboard. I sat on the edge of the bed and I looked at the wall and I gave myself 10 minutes to feel whatever I needed to feel. I felt sad. That was the main thing. Not rage. That came later, in smaller waves. Mostly just sadness. The particular sadness of realizing that the picture you've been carrying in your head, the Easter dinner, the egg coloring, Nadia's face, doesn't exist anywhere but in your head. At some point, my phone began buzzing. My son, then my daughter-in-law, then my son again. I let it go to voicemail. I wasn't ready to speak in a way I wouldn't regret. I ordered room service, a grilled cheese sandwich, and a cup of tomato soup. It was exactly what I needed. I ate it sitting at the small desk by the window and watched the Charlotte Sunday traffic below. And I thought, I am 68 years old and I came 4 hours by bus and I am eating a grilled cheese alone in a hotel room on Easter Sunday and I need to decide what this means. I slept well, surprisingly, better than I'd slept in weeks. Monday morning I went downstairs for the continental breakfast. I was not in the mood for conversation, but the woman at the coffee station smiled at me in that uncomplicated way that strangers sometimes do. And I smiled back, and somehow that was enough to make me feel like a human being again. Her name was Therese. She was visiting her college roommate who had just had a knee replacement. She was from Akron. She had the kind of laugh that fills a room without being loud about it. We ended up sitting together for almost 2 hours. She didn't ask me anything prying. She just talked and listened. And at one point I told her a small version of why I was there. Not the whole story, just the shape of it. And she looked at me steadily and said, "Good for you for not going back." "I don't know if it was the right thing," I said. "You're here," she said. "That means something." I exchanged numbers with Therese before she left. We have since texted a handful of times. Small things, a recipe she mentioned, a show I told her to watch. It is not a grand friendship, but it is real and it started from nothing, and that means something to me. My son came to the hotel Monday afternoon. He found me in the lobby reading. He looked like he hadn't slept well, and I noticed the shadows under his eyes, and I felt the automatic pull of a mother's concern, and then I deliberately set it aside, the way you set aside something breakable while you deal with something more important. He sat down across from me. "Mom," he said. "Sit," I said. "I'm listening." He talked for a while. He was sorry, he said. It was a failure of communication, he said. He didn't realize I was already on the bus. He thought there was still time to sort something out. He should have confirmed. He should have called. He knew it was inexcusable. I listened to all of it. I am good at listening. I have had a lot of practice. Then I said, "When did you find out the bridal shower was that Sunday?" He looked at his hands. 2 weeks ago, he said quietly. 2 weeks, I said. "You knew 2 weeks ago? And you didn't call me. I thought there was time to, there was time, I said. You chose not to use it. He didn't argue with that. I'll give him that. He's not a man who argues when he knows he's wrong. He just sat there, looking ashamed, and I looked at him and felt two things at once, love and something harder. The hardest kind of thing. The kind that forms when you realize the person you love has been treating you as an afterthought and didn't even notice. "I want to see Nadia," I said finally. He nodded quickly, relieved at the change in direction. "Of course, she's been asking about you." "I want to see her today," I said, "and I want you to bring her here to the hotel. I'm not coming to your house this trip." He blinked. "Mom, this trip," I said, "I'm not saying never. I'm saying not this time. I need some space around what happened, and I'm not ready to sit at your table and act like everything is fine." He came back 2 hours later with Nadia. She ran across the hotel lobby in her little sneakers and hit me at about knee height and held on. And I closed my eyes and held the back of her head and just breathed for a moment. She smelled like sunscreen and that particular shampoo they use, the one that smells like green apples. "Mama," she said into my cardigan. "Hello, my love," I said. We spent 3 hours together. We found a park 2 blocks from the hotel, and I pushed her on the swings until my arms got tired, and then we sat on a bench, and I gave her the wooden rabbit, and she held it very carefully in both hands the way small children hold things they understand are special. She named it immediately Snow, she said with complete authority, and I told her that was a perfect name. My son sat on a bench nearby and watched us and didn't say much. When it was time to go, Nadia cried a little. I told her I would see her again soon. I meant it. I do mean it. My son hugged me goodbye in the hotel parking lot. I let him. I hugged him back because he is my son, and I love him, and those two facts will outlast everything else. But in the car on the way home, I rented one this time. I wasn't taking the bus back. I thought about some things I had not let myself think about before. Like the fact that this is not the first time I was an afterthought. It is only the first time I was left alone in a bus station because of it. Like the money I have sent over the years. For the new water heater. For Nadia's preschool when things were tight. For the car repair 2 winters ago. I have never minded any of it. I gave because I wanted to, because they needed it, and I had it, and that is what you do. But I have started to notice that giving without limits sometimes teaches people that you have no limits. Like the visits that always seem to happen on their schedule, their convenience, their availability. Like the calls that come when something is needed. I drove through the April Hills and I thought, I am 68 years old. I am in good health, mostly. My mind is sharp. I have things I still want to do. Places I still want to do. Places I still want to go. Mornings I want to spend exactly the way I choose to spend them. I am not done. The week after I got home, I signed up for a watercolor class at the art center in my neighborhood. I have always wanted to paint, and I have always found a reason not to start. The reasons had mostly to do with feeling like I should be available. Available for calls, for visits, for whatever was needed. I went to my first class on a Wednesday evening, and the instructor's name was something I immediately forgot because I was so nervous, and the woman next to me was a retired nurse named, well, I won't say her name, because she's shy about that sort of thing. But she became someone I now meet for coffee on Tuesdays. She lost her husband 4 years ago and has a dry, precise sense of humor, and she does not let me feel sorry for myself for more than 30 seconds at a time, which I find immensely useful. My son called me a few weeks after Charlotte. A real call, not a text. He talked longer than usual. He asked about my watercolor class. He asked what I was reading. He asked near the end if I was doing okay. I'm doing well, I said, and I meant it in a different way than I usually do when I say it. Mom, he said, I really am sorry. About Easter. About Easter? About, I think, probably other things too that I haven't said properly. I know, I said. Are we okay? I thought about that for a moment. Not the performative pause, not the dramatic one. Just an honest moment of looking at what okay means. We're working toward it, I said. That's good enough for right now. He said he'd come up to Knoxville next month. He said he'd bring Nadia. He said they would come to me this time. I said that sounded nice. And it does. It genuinely does. I'm not a person who wants distance or silence or estrangement. I'm not interested in punishment. What I'm interested in, what I have finally, at 68, decided I am allowed to be interested in, is being treated like someone whose time and feelings and presence in this world matter. That's not a complicated thing to want. The wooden rabbit named Snow is on my mantle now, in my house, because Nadia decided she wanted me to keep it until she was old enough not to lose it. I look at it sometimes when I'm having my morning coffee. It reminds me of the park bench. The green apple shampoo, the way she said the name with total certainty, no hesitation, no checking to see if it was right. Some things, you just know.